Hi, it's Linda Frazee with Authentic Wisdom, and I want to talk to you today about how you manage your anger. For the last 40 years, I've been working with people, helping them be successful and handle their emotions through work and relationships. And anger is one of the primary ones that it's important to know how to do and do effectively. We all know we know how to have it. Well, not everybody knows how to have it, but most people do. So today I want to talk to you about that. So what do you do when you get angry? Well, let's start at the beginning. The first thing is that you were trained at the knees of your caretakers about how to be angry. Let's say that if you were in a very functional family, hopefully when you were angry as you were a child, you were allowed to express that and freely without hurting anybody else or yourself, and then you moved on to the next thing. That would be the most healthy thing that anyone could teach a child. However, if you were in a more dysfunctional family, you might have been punished for being mad. You might have been, made really, really wrong, or the parents got really mad at you for it, or you learned very early on that it's just best not to get angry at all. So you might have just stuffed it or suppressed it, or sometimes we call it swallowed it. So I don't know where you are on the spectrum, but very few people have learned from a highly functional family what to do with all of that. So there's other factors. Do you know there's a genetic component of how you work with your anger as well? And there's a system called the Enneagram that I work with, and that gives you some information and some very vital knowing about yourself, about your blind spots and how you handle all kinds of conflict and especially anger. Now, there's another factor. If your parents didn't handle anger themselves well, they might have been yelling and screaming and shouting or going on, and you modeled that. So here you are as an adult now, probably either having had a genetic predisposition to handle anger in a certain way and then being modeled by your parents, unless they were exceptional. I hope for you they were, but most people's parents were not exceptional, including me. So what do you do about it now? Well, there's some general things to consider because everybody gets angry sometimes. Some people get angry a lot more than others, but there's a way to handle that that's effective, and there's other ways that are destructive. So let me give you an example. Let's say that you're at work and you've been expecting a promotion and you hope that it would be for you, but you find out that your coworker got the promotion instead. What do you do? So, well, let's say you're disappointed and mad at the same time. You're maybe even furious. So one choice would be go in and yell at the boss. That's probably not very effective. Another one would be to go and make the coworker wrong for having gotten the job, or you could act it out and slam things around, slam doors, and knock papers off the desk. You could do all of that. That's called displacing your anger, although that's still pretty aggressive. Or you could quit your job. You could say, okay, I'm out of here. And that would be letting the anger rule your decisions in a quick moment. And so, or you could go home, you could drive home and be displacing your anger and be trying to run people off the road, running into cars, being really, really angry. Or you could go home and displace that anger by being mad at your family or the people you live with. There was a cartoon on Family Circus many years ago, maybe you saw it, where the father had a situation like this, comes home to his family, gets mad at his wife, displacing his anger, who gets mad at her child, displacing her anger, and the little boy kicks it off, which is displacing his anger. So it was a humorous kind of thing, but it's really true that when we don't express it directly, we don't have a channel for that, it goes in the wrong direction. So what would be the healthy thing to do? Well, let's talk about that. So let's say in that same situation, you didn't get the promotion, you're feeling sad and angry, and you leave. You could go to your car, and if nobody's watching and you have some time, you could yell and scream and shout. If you're in a parking lot with a lot of other cars, you could drive away and find another secret kind of place or where you're not being people next to you and say out loud what's going on. If you're not furious and you can drive safely, you can drive and talk out loud. It used to be that people, when I told them that, would say, I can't do that. People will wonder what I'm doing. And now there's no problem because so many people have earphones or Bluetooth that they would be talking out loud anyway. So who would know what you were doing? Just make sure you drive carefully. Then let's say that you get home and you're still angry. Rather than displace it on your family, you could sit down and handwrite with a pen and paper all the things you're angry about this, how this is unfair and all the rest, and just absolutely get it all out. Don't worry about penmanship. Don't worry about spelling. Don't worry about mistakes. Just get it all out. And then either shred it or tear it up in little pieces. Well, let's say you do that and you're still angry. Okay, now you know that that energy has really gripped your whole body. So now you have to work it out. So go for a fast walk, stomp your feet, go for a run if you can run, do something. Let's say that you could go to a batting cage and hit baseballs. You could go to a putting green or a place with golf where you can hit it, like I think what's called a driving range and hit balls that way. Or you could just get a tennis ball and hit it off the back of your house or someplace close or to a tennis court and throw it up against the wall and have it come back. Because you see, when we're angry, we want to hit. Now, this may all seem kind of crazy, but it's really important because this anger is a very, very big energy. You know, you've all felt it. Some of you have. Some of you haven't, and we'll talk about those of you who haven't in a minute. So then if none of this is possible, let's say you don't have a tennis ball, you don't have a court to go to, and you're still furious, you can take your fists and just beat them on your couch, on the cushions of your couch, or on the mattress of your bed. Now, as I said, all of this may seem extreme, but it's really not, because you see, it's your lifetime habit to deal effectively with anger. And anytime you're destructive with it, with yourself or with anybody else, whether that's yelling and screaming and shouting or hurting someone or hurting yourself with it, that's not effective. Or shooting yourself in your foot by like quitting your job because you're mad at somebody. It really is about you expressing it in a way, getting it out of your body. And then you can express it with somebody. When you're calm and you know what you're feeling and you can express your words, that's important. Because if you're yelling and screaming and shouting at somebody, you know what they get? They just get the energy of that anger. They don't hear a word you've said. And then sometimes when you get that they're not hearing or can't get it, then you get louder. It just makes it worse. So if you ever really want to be heard about something you're upset about, you have to be calm in the first place. Not just slightly calm, but you have to express all of this, get away from it, and then you can go back. Now, let's talk about the other end of the spectrum. What if you're somebody who doesn't express their anger? Maybe you were a kid in the house that you decided either by your genetic predisposition or by what was going on in the house that you were never going to be like that angry person in your house. And so you have swallowed it. You might have swallowed it so well you don't even know you have it. So if that's the case, the first thing you want to do is notice what's happening in your body. There's some pretty primary places that people hide anger. And one of them is in their jaw, right in here, because that's from trying not to say anything. So the jaw tightens up or you grind your teeth at night, those kind of things. So if your jaw is hurting, that might be a clue. It's not the only thing it could be, but it could be that you're holding some anger. And then if your jaw is hurting, no doubt your neck is hurting. Or your shoulders are hurting because you're holding it in, or your stomach or your solar plexus are really tight, not from a good exercise, but from holding that anger in. So what do you do with that? Well, first of all, I want to say that if you aren't expressing your anger and you hardly ever express it, that's not a good thing. So you may think, oh, well, I'm being good because I'm not like these angry people all around me. I'm being cool, calm, and collected. Well, that would be okay if you're not putting it in your body. It's called somatizing it, taking it in. And so if you're not holding it in your body, that's okay. But if you are, and you make a lifetime habit of that, a number of things can happen. For one, you can start getting sick because that's a very, very toxic energy to be holding in your body. So you might just get colds more often, or you might have the flu. You might just feel tired and worn down. But eventually, if you continue to hold it inside, you're eroding your immune system and making yourself open to more diseases. So it's not a good idea to hold your anger inside. So going back to all of those things I mentioned earlier, those would be ways you could let go of some of that anger, which would be hard for you if you're somebody who has never expressed. But first of all, feel it in your body and then see what you can do to express it. Now, let's say you're someone who doesn't like to express your anger and you're in an argument or a disagreement with somebody, and you really are mad and you know if it continues that it's going to be hard for you. So you walk away. That usually makes the other person in the relationship, be it at work or at home, pretty mad if you walk away. So if you can just say, I'm really angry, I'll talk about this later, that helps. It's not guaranteed they won't follow you, but hopefully that's true. Now, for those of you who are easy or are comfortable with your anger, this is going to seem crazy, but a lot of people are so frightened to get angry, they can't even say the words. So in that case, write it out on a note. I'm angry. I'll talk to you about this later. Now, here's the catch-22. If you say that, you got to do it. It isn't just to put them off at the moment to get out of there to make yourself okay. You really do have to have the conversation later. You have to be of integrity. So, but when you're calm and you're connected and you're not feeling so angry, there's a possibility that some good could come out of those conversations. So I've now talked to you about the person who flies off the handle quite easily and the person who hardly ever expresses their anger, maybe doesn't even know it. Most people are more in the middle. And that's because they get triggered. And that takes us to the Enneagram, because the Enneagram is a system for self-understanding that's magnificent and helps you understand your genetic predisposition to whether you're an over or an under reactor, and your blind spots about it, your blind spots about crisis and conflict and about anger. So if you're interested in knowing more about what to do and being really diligent about being a good steward of the energy of anger, and actually sometimes using that anger, not against anyone, but to help you propel yourself towards your goals, check out my website, lindafrazee.com.